Alexis, you go.
Nestled within the walls of E.K. Poe Elementary School is a first grade classroom without ever a dull moment, Mrs. DeMeza's class. Mrs. DeMeza has been teaching at E.K. Poe for 11 going on 12 years and has seen the school flourish throughout her time there. Not only is Mrs. DeMeza a Poe teacher, she's also a Poe parent. Her daughters Jada and Ava have been energetic members of the Poe community since pre-K. Jada, Mrs. DeMeza's third grader, is thoughtful, kind, and reserved, with a knack for reading people and social situations. Ava, Mrs. DeMeza's first grade daughter, is kind like her older sister, but more outgoing and silly. She's also quite ambitious when it comes to her academics. As a parent of 2 Poe students, Mrs. DeMeza trusts that the school will work with each of her daughters' personalities to help them grow both academically and as people. The same engaging nature of E.K. Poe that Mrs. DeMeza values for her daughters is reflected in the classroom experience she creates for her first graders. Mrs. DeMeza's classroom is a kaleidoscope of bright hues and lively activity. In every nook, there's a discovery to be made. In everything she does, Mrs. DeMeza aims to cultivate a love for learning in her classroom. Students begin their day with morning yoga, finding peace and balance and preparing for the exciting day ahead. After lunch, you might find Mrs. DeMeza students bouncing around and letting their wiggles out during one of their afternoon brain breaks. The value of these activities is more than meets the eye, as the embrace of this youthful energy creates a more enjoyable learning environment for the students. An indispensable component of fostering this learning environment is making sure the class reaches its greatest potential as a community. The first 6 weeks of the school year are dedicated entirely to responsive classroom learning, which is designed to develop students' interpersonal skills. Concentrating on community-building interaction sets Mrs. DeMeza's classroom up to thrive as a more cooperative, productive learning environment for the entire year.
I think it's all about them experiencing these different ways of learning, but experiencing them together with their community classroom. So we build these communities in our classroom. Those first 6 weeks of school, that's all we do is play games, learn about each other, talk with each other. So that way, if you are not, an artistic learner, you don't learn in that way. When we do a project that requires that, you feel safe in your community of friends to step out of yourself and to try something new.
It's not only how Mrs. DeMeza students learn, but also what they learn that promotes their education and internal growth. E.K. Poe is a place that cherishes its diversity, and Mrs. DeMeza takes special care to teach her students to embrace their differences.
This is our mission, to teach our students about the diversity of people and how people look and people's lifestyles, and it's our job to expose them to all of this so that they're more accepting and more loving and more understanding of our differences.
Just as Mrs. DeMeza's class is home to students of different backgrounds, the world is full of people from different walks of life. Teaching diversity not only strengthens the classroom community, but also prepares Mrs. DeMeza's students to practice kindness and understanding in their interactions as they grow. When students walk into Mrs. DeMeza's class, they discover how to learn together, laugh together, and live together. In the community she creates, Mrs. DeMeza prepares her students to be compassionate, loving, and accepting members of society when they leave.